Good morning, I'm Melissa Chartrand. I'm joined by Cape Cod author Shirley Vogel. We're here to talk about a few of your books and about writing in general. So thank you for coming today.
Thank you, Melissa. It's a privilege.
Thank you so much. So we talked about first that you've been living in Brewster. You're not from the Cape, and neither am I, but we've been here both a long time. You've lived in Brewster for 25 years and now are residing in Yarmouthport.
Right.
So to me, that's Cape Cod.
Yeah.
Certainly been here and entrenched in the writing community as well. I've met you this summer at the Artist Shanties. Right. We, of course, have literary arts represented down there now, which is such a treat. And you were with a few other authors. So first we were talking about what's the writer community like here on the Cape?
It's pretty active. We have the Cape Cod Writers Center, and they have a conference every summer for about, I think it's 5 days now, and very well attended from all over the country, and even some international attendees, I believe. But some of them have groups. I used to be in a writers group and don't have time for it right now, but hopefully one day I'll be in one again.
It's nice to have that community. You know, I talk to a lot of musicians and visual artists and so on, and they all talk about having that, be able to have those like minds to share and bounce ideas off of and critique and just spend time together.
Yeah, exactly. They usually take so much time. They see how many people show up, and then you divide it up, and each person has so much time to read, and then the others critique it in a kind way.
Sure,
of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
And it's also nice that a lot of the authors are involved in the local libraries in each of our village libraries. So we encourage our viewers certainly to check out those calendars too.
Yeah, and also the local bookstores are very supportive of our authors here on Cape. And in fact, I can only think of one, which will remain nameless, that isn't supportive and is very fussy about what books they take. But even some of the Stop and Shops have books.
Isn't it so nice to see that support for our local writers?
Right.
Now, how long have you been writing?
Well, I started about 25 years ago, I think, and I had never planned to write. Part of the reason is in my Whispers book when my second husband and I were married, and then when we moved to the Cape about 27 years ago, people asked about it, and they said, well, you have to write that story, you know, and it's so remarkable that my current husband calls it God's soap opera. So, yeah, it begins when my first husband left our 27-year marriage, and then God brought another man into my life when I wasn't sure I wanted one, and now we've been married 28 years.
How nice.
Yeah, so it is. Yeah.
And that's what the first book, Whispers, is about. You now have this Faith Favorites Fun and photos of Cape Cod.
Right. Well, that's a little bit different in that the cover, I think, is really stunning. And Megan O'Leary is the photographer for this. And there's 80 full-colored photos in there. They're different from the typical Cape Cod book because these they're just more about living here and the different things that we do. And it's just a beautiful book. Very proud of it. And
did you write around the photos, or she responded to your writing?
No, she had the pictures, and she just sent them to me, and I picked the ones that I felt would go, and some of them are very appropriate, and they're all beautiful. And the pictures, the pieces are much shorter, so it's very good for a coffee table book or for a bedside stand, because there's also scriptures. There's quotes by people like Corrie ten Boom, never be afraid to trust an unknown future to a known God, and that kind of thing. And so it's going very well for the Christmas gifts this year. And this is the smaller size, and it comes also in a larger 8.5 square size. And some people prefer that, but a lot of people prefer this one.
The smaller. Mm-hmm. What type of writing do you prefer?
I do just inspirational writing. And the first book, I should explain that the title is Whispers, and it's an acronym that, just the way God gave it to me, it's all lowercase letters except for a capital H. And it stands for When He Is So Precious Even Rocks Sing. And what that means to me is if we love God enough, we believe He can do anything. He can make rocks sing if He wants to, but in a more practical sense, He can make a real difference in our lives, regardless of the circumstances or how hopeless they may seem to us. And so that was my first book, and then the second one was this. It's also inspirational. And I the other writing I do, which I hadn't planned to do, was I've been doing a daily devotional, and I've been told by several people now that they deserve to be in a book, but I just haven't had time to go there yet. Very busy marketing.
Sure, sure, and that's, we wanted to talk about that as well, is about what is self-publishing?
Well, self-publishing is going through a company. The first one I went through was the only one I went through was Wine Press, and quite unbelievably in January I'd been trying to reach them to buy more copies of this book, and I received a stunning email saying that they were no longer in business, and this is after 20 years.
Oh,
and so they really stranded thousands of authors, and so I really didn't realize the significance of it at first, but then I had to find another publisher, and I called a friend of mine, and he works, he's the publishing director for a traditional publisher called Principia Media in Grand Rapids, and they actually accepted both of my books and helped me put them back together and get the materials.
Right. And then, as you said, marketing takes up, so as an author, it's one thing to first write and prepare and put that together, but then to get that word out there. So tell me a little bit about your marketing efforts.
As daunting as the writing can be, that's the easy part. And then the marketing, especially, well, like on Cape, if I put it in a store, they're not going to call me. It's very rare. There's one maybe that calls and says, well, I need more books. But usually you have to call and check with them and see if they need more copies.
Sure, you have to self-promote.
Yeah, and then you have to peddle them either to, from P-Town to Falmouth, wherever you have the books. So it's very, very time-consuming. And right now we bought a tent, and so we're doing all the arts and crafts shows, and I think we've done the last one for this season, but that's huge. I mean, just getting that tent up at our age, it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of time and effort.
And then this past weekend we did a big craft show, and the festival, the first day was cold and rainy, and then the next day was just beautiful, more than made up for it.
I would think that the reward, though, is speaking and meeting the people and being able to talk about your work and share and get their feedback as well.
Yeah, it's very important to me because it's what I consider a book ministry, and so a lot of it is sharing, what I believe about God and Jesus, and so I have a lot of opportunities for that. And I also speak for women's groups and retreats, and I just did one in New Hampshire, for example, and it was wonderful. Yeah.
So let's tell our viewers where they can find out more information about you and your books as well.
Well, they can go to my website, which is on the card in most of the books, and the website is www.shirleyvogel.com, and or they can call me. Or they can just Google the names of the books. Whispers.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, you're very accessible, and I think thank you so much for your time today.
You're welcome.
For Shirley Vogel, I'm Melissa Chartrand.